the other people will join us. Well, welcome to the March Hype webinar, and we appreciate you joining us today for our third webinar of 2021. This might not work since we don't have very many people on the call today, but what I'd like to know, or what I'd like to happen here for just a couple of minutes, for you to use the chat box and let us know if this is your first Hype webinar, or if you've attended others. And we can only improve what we offer if you let us know what you like. So what would make them better and what topics you would be interested in hearing about. So I'm going to give you just a minute to go into the chat box and answer those couple of questions. So if this is your first Hype, or if you've attended, if this is not, or how many you've attended, what you like about them, what would make them better, and topics you'd be interested in. So go. All right, well, thanks everybody for taking a few minutes to do that. So now we're going to get into the program, and Nicole's put up on the screen. So today thank you for joining us. We thank Manage Outsourcing, who's our annual Hype sponsor. It's great to have companies who find that education for businesses is important, and we appreciate their sponsorship. So today's program is on why goals matter, and we welcome Kaye Dent, who's a local attorney with Dent Law. Kaye concentrates her practice on estate planning and elder law, and enjoys helping families plan for the future and gain peace of mind. Kaye graduated from Hofstra University School of Law in 1996, and initially worked with a nonprofit providing legal service exclusively to persons with disabilities. And after years of practice as both a state's attorney and public defender, she now operates Dent Law offices. She is a member of the Illinois chapter of National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys and her local bar associations. Kaye also serves on the boards of the Southeastern Illinois Community Foundation Advisory Board, Effingham County, and chairs the Fifth Circuit Pro Bono Committee of the Public Interest Law Initiative. When not working, Kaye enjoys gardening and fishing with her family, as well as traveling. Seeing the world through her teenagers' eyes is proving very rewarding, and has provided them with a wide range of experiential learning opportunities. So please help me welcome Kaye Dent. Welcome, Kaye.
Hello. Since we have a small group today, frankly, I'm fine if anybody has a comment or question, wants to have a little more of a discussion today, if you want to unmute, because it won't just be a free-for-all with this number of people. That's fine. Basically, I want to talk about the fact that, you know, we can't lose sight of the fact that the world keeps turning, even when it seems like things are standing still, because you can't leave. And we're getting to the point, I know, where things are opening up, but for a lot of us, it's still going to be, there's still going to be challenges because of COVID for, I would assume, at least the next 90 days as we figure everything out. But again, the world doesn't stop turning. You know, I have family members who had other health issues. They didn't suddenly get better, and their degenerative diseases didn't stop getting worse. You know, my business didn't stop growing because of what I do. My kids still grew up and turned 18 and told me they can be in charge of themselves. So, you know, it's not as if things actually stood still, and goals matter. You always need to have goals. I would be interested in people using the chat box and indicating whether in your business you're using a structured goal program with your team at any level, and also whether you're using it just for management or people in certain positions, or for the entire business and the entire team. And I'll let Norma or Nicole fill us in on that after a moment. I do want to tell you that whenever I do a presentation, I use my own travel photos and my own family photos just for fun. So this is a photo that you're seeing of Mount Fuji, the sleeping giant, that my son took not quite 2 years ago when we visited my beautiful family in Japan. And you know, my kids have gotten to see Mount Fuji, and I'm so happy about that. And they got to meet my dad's brother for probably the first and only time, because he's never really traveled back here in quite some time, and he's not getting any younger. So we had a great time visiting him, and then my son wanted to go back the next summer, and COVID happened, so we didn't get to do that. So are any of you using goals, like I said, in a structured way within your businesses?
We do not, Kaye.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with what types of goals you're talking about, but we have maybe we use sales. There's certain sales type achievement things and things like that. But are you talking about more of a production oriented?
Well, I'll get to that then. So now I kind of have a baseline. Now I know where you're coming from. So that's helpful. I think that having a structured way of using goals has been very beneficial to my business over the last 10 years. I've been using them when I was with another firm previously and in my own firm now. And I find that they really help your team grow, and they helped us survive COVID very well. I think that that's extremely important. And Nicole's saying that the chamber uses strategic goals, and individual staff goals are encouraged and enforced, which is great. So we're going to talk about those concepts. Going to, you know, what is a goal? A goal is first and foremost a commitment. In times that we've had, and again, I think for the reasonably foreseeable future, probably well into the second quarter of 2021, it's going to be hard to stay committed. And that isn't just about in your business life, but in your personal life as well. I'm sure I'm not the only person who has packed on a few pounds during COVID, just from some of the stressors and the having to change your routine, and change it again and change it again. So if you have the goals in place, it does make it a lot easier to roll with those changes and to try to stay committed to the finish line. Goals certainly help keep you motivated. And, you know, if you're staying committed is one thing, but being motivated to stay committed is another thing. There are layers to this, and goals are very useful in that. I read a quote yesterday as I was preparing from Tony Robbins that I liked, and it said, goals make the invisible visible. So, you know, if you want someone to do a good job, they have to know what their job is. And having well-defined goals helps make that visible and make it real, rather than it just being out there as, well, I do this. Well, what is this? And how do we do this? And what are the steps for this? So we can go to the next slide. A goal is an action plan. again, it's not just one thing. I want to lose weight. That's not enough of a goal to actually get it done, to stay committed and to stay motivated. I have to say, I want to lose X pounds within X days. To do that, I need to make sure that my goal every day is that I drink X ounces of water. I need to make sure that I don't eat more than X calories. I need to make sure that I take so many steps, whatever it is that's going to get me to the goal. There has to be an actual plan in place, not just, it's more than a New Year's resolution of I'm going to lose 15 pounds. And we can go to the next slide. Talked about motivation again. I had a work colleague previously who, like me, wanted to lose a few pounds, and he made a deal with his wife, because he was an avid golfer, that every week he didn't lose weight or he didn't stay on his diet, she got to take one of his golf clubs out of his bag and handicap him. So that helped keep him on the straight and narrow, and that was his motivation. It was kind of, I guess, negative reinforcement. Some people work with positive reinforcement. I know in just to give real life examples, in my business partner recently retired, and we've got his succession plan working really, really hard to fill his shoes. We've been working some long hours to make the transition. And I promised Matthew that if we get some certain things done, very finite things, projects that he knows how to do, he knows what needs to be done, they can be done by the end of the week, then we're not working this weekend. He needs a weekend off. And his eyes got so big and wide yesterday, and he's like, I am going to blow this out of the water. He was so excited. And the thing is I'm not a really harsh boss. It's not like I'm saying you must be in here on the weekends. It's that I've got a dedicated employee who wants to get the job done and knows that we're going to have to put in some extra hours for a short period of time here. But at the same time, it's tiring. And it's nice to be able to reward that, because you don't want people just coming in every day, punching a clock, getting burned out. There needs to be some kind of positive motivation, I think, and some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that we're doing this for a reason, and some good will come of this goal. So we can go to the next slide. And Nicole commented, got a comment, I have a previous job where I didn't have a clear direction on what my position was responsible for. And I always said I was a jack of many, master of none. So having goals within my position at the chamber has been amazing. And I think that that's great feedback, because I have an employee who came not from the legal world at all, and had no experience in a legal office. And after 10 years, I will tell you, could do almost anything I could do. She can't appear in court. She doesn't have a law license, but she's brilliant. She's organized. She's motivated. She is professional. And I think that having the goals has helped us develop together in that regard. And she really likes the goals. She is the one who's actually in charge of gathering up the goals from everybody in our office. And when we have our quarterly meetings, putting them in front of everybody and saying, okay, here's where we are, and we have the discussion. And I'll get to those details in a moment. It's also important to note that goals are for everybody on your team. You can't, you have a business, you hire people, it's because you can't do it all alone. Tom Sawyer didn't paint that fence alone. He figured out how to delegate. And that is my son at the Tom Sawyer fence in Missouri, in Hannibal there, where you can go and write a message and whitewash it a little bit. It's fun for the kids, great place to visit. So now that things are opening up, I hope everybody's able to get out a little bit and explore. But remember that if everybody has a position to play on your team, And everybody has some level of responsibility for moving your ball down the field to get to the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to have a successful business, to have, generation of income. In some respects, for some people, to leave a legacy. This may be your baby. And you can't do it all yourself. So you have to innovate, like Tom Sawyer. You have to delegate. And part of delegation is making sure that people understand what their jobs are, making sure that they're focused on doing their job, that they understand what role their job plays in the entire system, that they're not just the cog in the wheel, but they know the wheel next to them, they know the wheel to the left, the wheel to the right, they understand where their job fits in, and can take some pride and responsibility and accountability for keeping the gears greased and for keeping things moving. So if in my office, every single person, and of course we're a small office, but even in a large company, I think every single person should have a very clear understanding of what their job is and very clear goals about how they are to achieve their job and make their job part of the overall corporate agenda for usually the year. If you think an employee doesn't need goals, then you have to step back and say, well, what are they even doing here? What is this person's job? What is their goal? Even if you have someone who's a runner, a courier, and they just take things from one place to the other, well, they can't be, you've seen Gone with the Wind, where they send Prissy out to get the doctor, and she's lollygagging back. If you've got somebody whose job it is to curry stuff, usually that's because it needs to get there in a rush, and you want them to be able to get things done in a timely manner. Like Domino's says, people don't want cold pizza. I want you to get it there in 30 minutes so they get a nice hot pizza fast while they're hungry. They don't get hangry. They know that we're providing a good, speedy service. Everybody in your office, no matter what they're doing, needs to have goals to measure how they are helping you achieve your business agenda. And it helps you running a business to focus on what you're really trying to do and to cut some fat, because ultimately, if you have an employee, and I've been here, who doesn't understand what their job is, who doesn't seem to be helping things down the field, you may have to say, you know what, maybe I don't need that person here. One of two things is going on. Either I don't need that person because they don't get it and they're not achieving their goals, they're not actually getting the job done, or maybe I don't need that position. Is this even really a job, or is this something that at one point was a job, and because of whatever changes happened in my business, in the economy, it just isn't useful anymore. It doesn't help my business agenda. It doesn't help my business goals. Maybe I don't need that position. So the goals help you on a lot of different levels within the business by, again, helping each team member understand their job, make progress, be productive. And again, if they aren't, helps you maybe cut some fat. So not always a pleasant thought, but sometimes it has to be done. And again, I'm sure we've all been in that position. The trick to that is always trying to figure out if you really need to do it or not, but having the goals can help you make that decision. Part of making that decision and using the goals is coaching and accountability. And goals don't mean a thing without accountability. I didn't really have a picture for that, so I used the Hague because there's all those international courts, and I thought that's kind of the ultimate seat of accountability. But one of the things that represents too is that one summer I said, I'm taking my family on the trip of a lifetime. Life is too short, and we've been working hard, and I have a great team, so I can be gone for 3 weeks at a time, halfway around the world, with my laptop connected part of the time. And I know that things are getting taken care of because my team knows what to do. They know what their jobs are. And we talk about, what are you going to be doing while I'm away? What do you want to achieve while I'm away? What do you need from me while I'm away? What do I need to get done before I leave? Those are all goals. So, 2, 3 months before I leave, I always plan my trips ahead. I have to set out goals for that quarter to say, okay, before June 10th, when I get on that plane, I have to have A, B, and C done. And my team knows what they have to have done if they need my wet signature on something. There is a method for scoring, because if you're not making your team and yourself accountable to your goals, you're just forfeiting the game. You're not getting anywhere. So you can, there are some books written on scoring, and one of them I believe is called Scorekeeping. And I apologize, I had that on my shelf, but I think I gave it to my associate to read. I give him book assignments to read. I was in a coaching program for several years, and we had quarterly meetings for accountability for us. And we always had a book to read. So I still try to maintain that practice of reading the, business growth books, things like that. And the scorekeeping, again, there's more than one book on it, but it can help you figure out how to structure goals so that you can determine if the team member is actually reaching the goals. And the goals shouldn't just be something you sit out there and you don't talk about again until the next meeting or until the next year. They need to be something that are constantly in the back of somebody's mind, motivating them. Again, they should be used as a motivational factor that, hey, if we do this, we're doing really well. And they should be discussed of, well, when you're chatting with people, even fairly casually, how are things going? How are your goals? That's not an inappropriate conversation to have with an employee. It's actually a very good one to make sure that they are keeping those in mind. And if they seem overwhelmed, say, well, let's break this down. What tasks do you have this week? Okay, you've got all these clients to call in my office. Okay, we've got a bunch of clients to call back to make appointments. How many of those have you gotten done this week? How many should we be getting done per week? How many client appointments should we have per week? Breaking all the goals down helps everybody be accountable and keep their eye on the ball, instead of getting to the end of a month or at the end of a week and saying, boy, I've got all this to do. They need to understand how the goal works in order to keep up a pace, because it's keeping up a good pace that helps everything run smoothly. And we can go to the next slide. Okay. Now, rules for setting goals. This is really important. I think this is kind of what Tom was getting to. It's not the Wild West, okay? Because if you treat it like that, I put it in the background, but it's a picture of the Grand Canyon. You do not want to feel like you're in the Grand Canyon when you're setting the goals. Don't have too many. The rule that I use is 10 goals per team member per year. That's less than 1 per month. They do not all have to be due at once. I don't want to get to the end of the year and find out that we only reached 1 goal. I want goals to be staggered. So what do we want to accomplish this year? For me, in the first quarter, I wanted to change this practice management software. Sometimes your goals will be motivated by outside factors. Frankly, it wasn't the best timing for me for a variety of reasons, including the fact that I was doing this at the same time my partner was retiring, but I got a really good deal. So I was partly motivated by, I was saving a good sum of money by going ahead and doing it. And I talked to the team, this is going to be some extra work for us. Are we ready to do it? Yep, because we've got to do it sometime. We probably should have done it 2 years ago. Let's get it done. So we all agreed. But that is for the first quarter. So that goal will be done, and then I'll be down to 8 or 9 goals for the rest of the year. And actually 8. So look at what you want to achieve, not just for the year, but each quarter. And that's how we break things down. And I think a lot of the business growth programs teach goal keeping that way. So in my office, we have a quarterly meeting. It used to be called, in my previous firm, the strategic roadmap. But my team member who came with me and I had decided that sometimes we got kind of bogged down, and we're on our own now. We wanted to fine tune what we felt was a very good basis. So she decided we call it the BS meeting every quarter, and it's our blueprint for success. And it really is a blueprint. I thought, I mean, Karen's brilliant, and I thought it was a brilliant name for it, because you really are creating the blueprint for your business for whatever period you're doing it for. Again, we have the overall annual, and we use the calendar year, and then we have these quarterly meetings. So we had one for Christmas, and we combined it with our Christmas party. We'll have one on April Fool's Day. Try to hopefully be able to go outside and eat at a restaurant. But we'll be discussing the goals, and that's going to be a huge focus. And we'll look at where we've come in the last 90 days. The big no's, again, are everything can't be due at once. Everything can't be due just at the end of the year. That doesn't really help you do anything but get bottlenecked and get sometimes scared. It is scary to do it that way. And don't make it all drudgery. So 10 per team member per year, organize and break down per quarter, have due dates, have things that you want to accomplish throughout the year, not all at once, and have some personal goals. And there's a lot of benefit to that, because you're supporting your team members as whole people. They get to have some interaction with and some camaraderie and some motivation from their fellow team members. Like I said, losing weight's a big one. People are always putting that on their goal list. For me, I'm always putting how many countries I want to add that year. But support the employees in that way. It's also by doing that, you also get a good sense of, especially if you have a bigger firm that might provide some perks, you get a good sense of where people are. If everybody says, boy, I want to start exercising more, well, then would they all respond to getting gym memberships, or even having drawings for gym memberships, or whatever you can use to motivate them? It tells you a lot about what's going to motivate people, what's going to make them happy, what perks you can provide. So there's a whole lot of kind of ancillary benefits to using a structured goal program. And part of the accountability is that the goals aren't secret. Everybody knows what everybody's goals are, and they're discussed and explained. The benefit of having the BS meeting where we say, hey, this is our goal, this is what we're going to do, is we can get feedback, and we also ask for help. So with my goals, they're not all goals that I achieve myself. With my goals, it's, well, we're going to change the practice management software. I'm not going to be the person who ports over all the information. I have to have everybody invested on board, and then some of their goals have to necessarily come from that. So sometimes, again, where necessity is the mother of invention, one of Karen's goals is to get X number of cases ported over by the end of March, so that we can make this work. And she's fine, because that's part of, we each have a job to do here, and that may be part of her job. So your team members may not be just making up all of their goals. A lot of times the professional work goals are going to come from the necessity of what needs to be done. And there's going to be some trickle down effect of, okay, boss lady here wants this done, who's going to do what? And it's how we delegate the jobs and make sure that we're not still trying to get this project done next year. We want to get it done within a finite period of time and move on to the next thing. And again, don't overload. I think 10 goals per person per year is plenty. Some people may want less, especially if you say, well, I really don't care about the personal things so much. I'm fine if my employees have 5 goals per person and maybe just one personal goal. Whatever works for you, depending on what the nature of your business is. I just find that a lot of the teachings that work for us are the 10 goals per year. And again, I've been doing that for almost 10 years, and I think it's been working very well. And also remember that all of the goals don't have to be about the World Cup. This isn't all or nothing. Small goals, as long as they are, increasing productivity, increasing your team members' professional growth, their knowledge base. You want everybody to have some benefit from these. So to some extent, some of your goals may be broken down into sub goals that can really be considered objectives. You do want it, again, there to be clear steps. And remember, I mentioned before that you can't just say, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. You have to put in how you're going to do it and break it down into the objective steps. I still think it is good, even though all the goals shouldn't be huge, to have one big project for the year. I'm getting mine done in the first quarter, and I'm really excited about that. Throughout the year, again, make sure that every quarter you're looking at the goals, analyzing them, sometimes reworking them. Some things you may decide, and with this is really where we get to the meat of it with the COVID and the changing world, is none of this stuff is set in stone. As much as you want it to be there so that you achieve something and you don't feel like, oh, I had the same year as last year, or COVID drugged me down, or whatever it may be, you've got to have some flexibility in there. And that's the importance of monitoring it and having the accountability every quarter, is you can roll with the punches. So you can say, you know what, this year, I could have said, I don't want this big expense of changing over to this new software. So we're going to put that on the back burner and make that a 2022 goal when we're done with COVID. And we're going to do something else this year. It's okay to do that. Just like, I mean, if you're, I don't know about the rest of you. I took the George Carlin approach. Can't stand baseball. I just can't stand it. It's boring. I want to see football. I want to see people knocking each other down, zigging and zagging and all of that. And that's the way it's felt. And I think for a lot of us in business this last year is the constant zigzag. But again, without having rigid goals and understanding that they have to be looked at on a regular basis and they have to be tweaked and updated, you can still keep running down the field. You just might have to, again, bob and weave and zig and zag a little bit. Sometimes team members might need to huddle together and say, you know what, we're all on these few projects. Let's all get together so that we can coordinate our goals. So goal setting has a lot of team building benefits in it. And I think that my team sees that. And sometimes it can be even enjoyable. You don't want it to just be drudgery. You want it, team building is supposed to be a good thing. Especially in times like these, I think keeping your team together, keeping them motivated, goals can really help do that. Now we can go on to the next slide, I think. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Okay. In order to make your team accountable and yourself, because you're in this too, remember the SMART acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. That's how you set the goals. And there's a lot written about that. So it's very easy to Google those terms or to Google SMART with those terms and find a lot of very deep explanation and a lot of hints about goal setting. Again, I want to lose 15 pounds. That's a specific goal. I want to lose weight is not a specific goal. Measurable. I want to lose 15 pounds. That's measurable. I want to lose weight is not measurable. So for me, again, since we're focused on this big project, I'm kind of using it. I know that we have to get a lot of data ported over to our new system. So Karen says, I want to have X number of cases brought over by the end of March. She doesn't say, I just want to have this done by the end of March, because what this is about 15 different steps. We need to have very specific steps in there that are also measurable, so that we don't get to the end of March and say, well, we did 100 of our 2,000 files over. We want to have a certain percentage of them brought over, and we want to be able to say, okay, this satisfies us that we're making progress. It doesn't have to satisfy anybody but us. So that's the great thing about this, is that in this changing world, you know, you only have to please yourself, and you only have to do what you need to do in order to survive what the times are calling for. But it has to be specific and measurable. Also achievable. Is it even possible? Are there enough hours in the day for me to get this done? And you have to look at your team members, and this is a good opportunity to coach them, especially in these trying times, that, you know, they need to be concerned about self-care. They can't be chained to their desks. They have other things to do. Nobody has just one job. So is this goal that we're setting with them, or that they're setting for themselves, is this something that they can really achieve? Or do we need to break it down further? Do we need to even back burner it and look at it again, maybe when we have a new hire? Because, you know, in my business right now, we're looking for somebody. So we've got one employee who the stuff is rolling downhill to, who we need to take some things off of her plate. And so we're having to look at what really is achievable for her, and how should we change her goals? And of course, realistic goals are these things that we even need to be worried about, and timely. And that's where you get into do we really need to be doing this right now? I think that that's one of the most important aspects in times of uncertainty, is because a lot of times you're looking at cutting the fat. Cutting the fat doesn't just mean possibly letting somebody go. Obviously, it can mean tweaking your budget elsewhere, but it can also mean looking at your goals and saying, do we really need to be doing all of this year? Or can we kind of get back to basics? Use the team we have, you know, we're not letting anybody go, but maybe we're going to try to increase productivity in some other ways, and not worry about growing the business, maybe just maintaining it. Maybe not worrying about hiring extra. Maybe originally we planned to expand. We're not going to expand this year. So you have to constantly be revisiting that. And that's why it's great to break down the big reviews at least quarterly. I know that some places do them monthly even, and that depends on the nature of your business, how fast things move. And it's not even unheard of to call a special meeting and say, you know what, we've had a change, we've got a zig or we've got a zag. But I would recommend the scorekeeping and looking up SMART. And you have to figure out an overall paradigm basically for your business. I usually have, and I apologize, I didn't have it right here. I did have it handy. I thought I put it right here. I have a spread that I use, and I apologize, it's not in that folder, because I think I gave it to my associate already. I have a 2-page, it's fold out, that has the goals. It has an actual chart. So I have 10 columns, and down the side are basically the SMART acronym. You know, the specific goal, how we're going to measure it. So we put that on the chart. Why it's achievable, realistic about it. Why do we need this? Is this realistic? Kind of some justification there, because you have to get that all out, and you have to talk about it in order to actually make the decision. Something can sound great in your head, but when you have to justify it to your peers or your employees, it may not sound so great. We've all been there. And then you say, okay, we're gonna back burner this. And then break it down also to when I want it to be done. So you can basically have everybody not just write down the goal, but create the chart, their roadmap for what their goals are and how they're going to achieve them. And they can break them down to the steps. And, you know, we've got little squares they can include. Okay, I'm going to be working on this with Krista or Karen or whomever. And it's important, again, that everybody puts their goals in writing, get some sort of chart or something for them to use. They must be specific and broken down. They have to hand in the goals. So we can't just have these be, yeah, I've got my goals done. This is homework. Everybody has to be accountable, and somebody in the office needs to be in charge of gathering up the goals and reporting back. And then everybody's going to present their goals at the either annual meeting or quarterly meetings. And there's not any secrets. So if they have a goal that's really, really personal, it doesn't go on here. These are all goals that we're going to share for accountability purposes. And of course, the goals can be incorporated into reviews, because these may be things that really they have to do in order to be a useful part of the team. And if they're not doing it, maybe they aren't cut out to be part of the team. Also, if they're not achieving it, why not? Sometimes you find out it's not their problem, it's yours. So there's a lot of analytical data that you can get out of the not just making the goals, but monitoring and making people accountable. And of course, there can be rewards. But always, I think, especially like I said, after the last year we've had, I think we've all learned that it's really important to be consistently taking a step back and asking why. Why are we doing this? Is it working? Should we continue doing it moving forward? And I know, like I said, I know that it's been a very uncertain time for everybody, but having the goals is part of what's helped me keep my sanity, frankly, through all of this. And I would highly recommend it, because I can't imagine operating my business without it. So I hadn't seen any chats come up, and I think we've got a few more minutes. I'd be happy if anybody had any feedback or questions. And I'll tell you that is
just to speak up and ask if you have any questions for Kaye.
Yeah. And the last picture you saw was my office and my dog. We have an office dog too, because that was one of the things that we changed this year is, when you're coming to the office and not everybody's here and clients aren't coming in here, it gets lonely. So Ava comes with us, and she's become a fixture here. She enjoys it.
Kaye, I enjoyed the presentation. This is always good to listen to these kind of topics. It's a good reminder of the goals that we need to be setting. And one of the things I don't know if you do with your employees, but I've found that in the past it was very helpful, especially in those very stressful years, was then at the end of the year, and I always did it at Thanksgiving time, I would then go back through and see what we achieved and write it down and share it with everybody, because it's easy to forget what you all get accomplished in a year's time.
Right.
Right. But I do enjoy making these kind of goals. I do, you asked at the beginning of the conversation, what if we do this? These are things, yes, I would definitely recommend doing this, whether your boss does it or not. Everybody's got to have a goal in mind, don't you think?
Yeah, and like I said, I think having everybody do it and setting it as an expectation of this is part of our culture has, like I said, I found it to be very motivating myself. And so when I left one firm and joined my husband here, I carried that with me. And frankly, it let us know where the weak spot was, and we did actually end up terminating someone who just couldn't be a part of the team. We're a small enough group, I'll be blunt about that. And it was not an easy decision, but it was necessary. And we realized we probably should have done it sooner. Yeah. I hate to say it, but and I did just Google, because I wanted to remember. I knew that book that I was trying to tell you about, and again, I've given so much to my associate. I was used to having it right here on my desk. It's called Scorekeeping for Success, and you can get it on Amazon for like $15. Okay. Yeah, and it explains how you can use, you have to have the goals in order to score, and how you can actually monitor productivity that way.
I use a spreadsheet to keep me on track each day, especially in this work from home environment. It can be very challenging if you're like myself and you're always at home. You have to have a motivation to get up in the morning and do certain things the same way, and I know this is kind of a side topic, but I saw right away in March of last year how everybody started growing beards and this and that. Well, I tried that for about a week or two, and my client associate that I work with, we would be on a video chat, and I finally told her, she's 65, and I finally told her, I said, Rona, I just can't do that. I've come to the realization that even though it saves me 10 minutes a morning, it throws me totally out of whack because I got to do what I am used to doing and get up in the
Right.
morning and do the same thing. So,
Well, and that's one of the seven, isn't it one of the 7 habits of highly successful people is that you get up at the same time every day and you do the same routines.
yeah.
That's one of the ways you maintain success, because it helps you maintain a pace. And that's a lot of what all this is about is, now CPAs, of course, they have crunch time, and that's just the way it is. They don't have a choice. But for a lot of other businesses, we might have busy times, but especially in my business in law, around the holidays, people don't want to really do their wills and stuff. So sometimes we have a little bit of quiet time, but they want to do tax planning by the end of the year. Sometimes the families are getting together at Thanksgiving and saying mom has to go into the nursing home. So I don't necessarily have a really slow time. I've got to keep up a pace. That's how I keep revenue coming in the door. And that's how I don't get to December and say, oh my gosh, what was I doing all year on the grasshopper? Now I got to do something.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Oh, there's something in the chat here. Oh, okay. So Nicole's put in the chat the name of the book that Kate has recommended.
Isn't it awful something that once you know something and you use it enough, and I guess that's the great thing is that I read the book, I put concepts to use, and then I forgot the name of the book.
Kay, how long have you?
Memory.
Yeah.
Kay, so how long have you been using this process yourself? You said you kind of were doing something before you went to work with your husband.
Well, I was just with another law firm doing the same thing that I'm doing now. So I've been doing the goals for about 10 years.
Okay.
Might just be 9. I kind of, I'm sorry, I kind of lose track, but we're pushing a decade on it. And I found it to be incredibly useful. And like you said, then you can look back on the year. And again, my paralegal, who is just a brilliant human being, is the one who often reminds me sometimes when I say, especially this last year, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many little like micro struggles with COVID in our business, because sometimes I'm having to get information from an insurance company, but they have everybody at home. They don't have their fax machines at home. So they get into the office once a week to get their faxes. So everything's delayed and I get frustrated. And she's like, no, because look back, we did A, B, C, D, E. She's the go-to person for the goals in our office. So she's the one who always reminds me when I'm having one of those days that, oh no, you've done this already. You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I had when I was running the management team at another employer, what I would do is I would have those management meeting notes, and every week, you had those notes, and certain notes would drop off or get completed or whatever. And what I found was very important for me, because you drop them off and you move on. I went back and looked at those weekly notes. There's 52 pages. I would look and highlight the ones that I wanted to remind myself and the team, look, we're not done. You're right, we're not done. We're always doing something, but look how much we've gotten accomplished this year.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very valuable, even for myself. It reminded me, oh wow, there's a lot of things we've not only accomplished, but then moved on and forgotten we did it.
Right. But that, like I said, I think that when you're able to forget little things, like I forget the name of the book, it's not that the book doesn't mean anything to me. It's that the title doesn't really matter. It's what I got out of it, and then I'm carrying it forward. And those little things that you might forget, oh, I did A, B, and C, they were the foundation for something else. The foundation, you lay the foundation underground, you don't see it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure Norma and Nicole and the group there at the chamber, they probably have their regular meetings, and they probably then take their information off, and they forget what they get done in a year's time.
Oh, they get done a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I know I get a lot of emails.
We have a marketing meeting every Monday morning and a staff meeting every Tuesday morning. So
Yeah,
that's how we help keep ourselves going, moving forward, hoping we don't lose too many things through the cracks. Kaye, thank you so much, and thanks for those who joined us. I think everybody kind of came on at the end, so we're happy that you were with us today. We have recorded this. It will be available tomorrow in the Chamber's Business Advocate newsletter, e-newsletter. Our next HYPE webinar is on Thursday, April 15th. We have Joe Fearday with SC3F Wealth Management, and he's going to be talking about avoiding big mistakes when saving for retirement. So another important topic that really, no matter what age you are, you need to be thinking about those things. So I know that younger folks don't think so, but it actually gets there before you think it might. The time goes by really quick sometimes. So speaking of somebody who's retiring and so.
I was going to say, Norma, aren't you kind of the group expert here on that?
But it's never too soon to start saving for the future. That's for sure. Whether it's retirement or something else you want to do.
That's
having
right.
that money available is always nice to have. All right. Well, thank you all. Have a great day and enjoy the weekend. And hopefully it'll quit raining and the sun will come out.
Yeah.
So
if I don't see you
out
before,
tomorrow,
Norma,
somewhere.
Congratulations if I don't see you before then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be around for a while. It's not yet. So
Right.
I got a lot to get done before I can leave. All right, everybody.
Thank you,
Good luck.
Kaye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.